Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Nobody is able to hear me? Or all of you are on mute.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Simple, sir.
Okay, did you hear me so far? Okay, I think I had some issue. Didn't know, I think I muted. All right. So let's continue. I was saying we will understand. I think we have made so much progress with respect to CS. Yes. So we got to cover what is called animation. So right now we understood how transition work and how things can be done. So we have got a property by name animation. So in CSS everything is a property. So animation is also a property. Yeah. So animation as a property, right? Animation as a property uh, is just like transition. Yeah. It's more like transition. So we have learned, if you remember, uh, yeah, transitions. Before transition, we have learned. No, I think we learned transitions. Yeah. Before transition, what did we learn? Anybody has an idea related to this? Transform. Remember, transform was like kind of one time. Transition is just showing that state change. You know, is showing the state change. Whereas now we are learning one step further, which is called animation, where transition is only happening once. You know, it goes and comes back. But what if I want that to be repeating? So you know animations, correct? So who doesn't know animation? Everybody. This. We see a lot of animations now. But then in web, the usage is again less because it kind of distracts people who have have some kind of disorders. Yeah, like they're not okay to see things moving actually. Okay, so so in practice again animations are also less only, but you should be knowing as a concept because it is there and you might have to use in some of these use cases like this, the progress bar. Yeah, using animation also this is possible. All right, now let's understand this property. So animation as a property is a combination of so many constituent properties. I mean, it is a combination of so many properties. So those properties are, yeah, I think we'll understand. So animation itself is one property. So this is a shorthand for animation name, animation duration, timing function, delay, iteration count, direction, and you can see the list is bit bigger. When we learned transition, we saw transition property, transition duration, transition delay. And we had two more, if you remember. Now animation is next level. Now these property names are, you know, names are very easy, yeah, self-explanatory. This is telling name. Okay, what is the name of the transition? I mean animation. We'll come to that. And then you got duration, how long that animation should happen. Delay also we can understand, like before the start of that animation, how much time it should wait. But then the interesting property here in animation is iteration count. You see, it is constantly happening, right? It's not even stopping, correct? So again, there is a property called iteration count, which tells how many times it should happen. Should it happen 2 times? Should it happen 3 times? The iteration, yeah. name. There is a timing function also. Yeah, this is something. So name, duration, timing function, delay, iteration count, and a direction. I think let's understand this one because these are very easy to understand. These are a bit advanced. The fill mode, play state, animation timeline. Yeah. So these last four one we'll omit for now. So we will understand these properties. Okay, first one is animation name. What exactly is this name? So during animation, so animation in simple words is nothing but sequence of keyframes. For example, if you ask me what is a video, so video is again set of frames. It's a sequence of frames. If you play one after the other, each of those frames, you will see that content is moving, correct? That's what is a video. So we have 60 ps, 70 ps. That's a frames per second, correct? Yeah. So video, if at all number of frames in a video, yeah. So 60 fps, which is good, yeah, which is a slow motion standard. Cinematic standard 24 fps. This f is nothing but a frame rate, yeah. Per second, how many frames you are passing? Frame is nothing but you can take like one still image, yeah. So this is how they even make the videos, okay. So now same in terms of animation, we got similar concepts here. Here we again got frames. Now with the help of CSS, we can even define the frames here, yeah, not like an image frame. So but for an element we can define like, okay, the different states. We don't have to go for defining like, okay, 24 frames, 60 frames, 34 frame like our normal video. No, not really required. Okay, so I'll come to this property called animation name. So by default none, yeah, meaning there is no animation which will happen even if you say animation. Now there are some built-in names available actually. For example, no, I think you can mention the name, not a built-in. You can mention the name. Okay, this is how you can use this property, individual property. Also, along with animation, you can apply. Now, basically, what happens is, let me show you an example first before I discuss about these properties. Maybe we'll go to what exactly we are doing. Animation opacity 0, 1. All right. So, so let's say I create one box here. I come to telling. We will see some example. Then we'll come to this property names. It is always there. We can study these properties. It's not a big deal. Okay. So I'll say width 100 pixel and height 50 pixel. Then we got a background color. We say dark blue. Do you have a color called dark blue? I guess no. Yeah, we got a dark blue. Now I would like to apply some animation to this box element. In that case, I have to use this property called animate. Yeah, animation starts with this property called animate. This is a shorthand property for so many of the individual property as I showed you. For this property to work properly, just a second. So sorry, so I was saying here we give the property, just like if you remember transition, we used to give all, yeah, transition duration 5 second, we gave a delay of 5 second. Similar to this format of syntax for animate, yeah, so it's not animate, it is animation. The property name is animation. I have to mention the name of the animation. So that name, let's say fade in. What is it? Animation name is fade in. So next, let's say duration. Let's say I would say 2 seconds for now. Maybe delay of 0.5 second. Let's see if the syntax is there. Now, okay, so let's say I apply, I create one animation. How do I create animation? I have to use what is called keyframes and I have to mention the name. Yeah, so this is the definition of that name. I can give a custom name. That name I have to define what is an animation. So here they've given an example. See, this is how you can do a keyframe animation. Yeah, so you can define the frames in that animation, which is fade in. Do you see what happened now? Yeah, so as and when it got loaded, you saw animation coming. Yeah, so maybe you can define a count. Let's say it has to happen 5 times. See, the animation is happening 5 times. That's a count. So in simple, so animation is not getting triggered. As soon as it's loaded, you see an animation is happening. But animation is, what should happen during the animation is defined by this definition, which is called keyframes. And we have a name to it. And this is called animation name. Yeah. So now what is happening? From 0, it is going to 1. Correct? The visibility. Basically opacity 0. It is not visible and it is going fully visible. But this is a simple animation, just to tell you. So we can define those animations using this keyframe. For example, there is something called move right. Yeah. So instead, now I don't want it to happen like just visibility, not that clear. So let's say I would like to define similar to transition. So now I use a transformation. See, 5 times it happens. I just gave a sample definition. This is how the animation should work. Fine. Now, with these examples, let's understand the properties. I think you will be able to get each one of them, what it is. So we understood this is a shorthand. So animation name is where we define keyframes. I'll come to the keyframe detailed definition. So the next thing is animation play state. Yeah. Uh, okay, they have a property called play state. Playing or not. Okay. Animation scene names are defined. Animation will start playing automatically. If the duration name are defined, immediately it will start. Meaning they are telling to start with whether it is running or it should be paused. Okay. So if you put just pause, then it will be anything in pause state. It will not run immediately. Okay. I think they have given a different definition here. Okay. Now there is something called timing function. There's one property called timing function. This basically states, so during that, frame, like, you see, start and end animations are calculated. So other day I think we discussed about a lot of timing functions are there. Ease in, ease out, ease in out. Yeah. So basically these are like standard animation timing functions. So if you remember, we said linear is like just going in a one straight line. Yeah. So I think I'll have to show the diagram again. These are like, it's not just in CSS, these are standard timing functions. Okay. So you might see this kind of curves actually basically. Linear is nothing but it goes like in a straight line. Ease in is like okay it suddenly increases and becomes a peak. Ease out, yeah, it rises to a point. After that it slowly starts moving or maybe ends slowly. So these are like some standard timing functions. So there is a option here like to mention that function so that we can see the behavior, the smoothness. Smoothness is defined, how smooth that animation should happen is defined by ease in, ease out. Okay, so the other properties are I think simple. Which ones? The count, iteration count, how many times it should happen. Okay, default it happens only once, but we can control it with by mentioning integer. Also we can mention a keyword which will say it can happen many times, meaning it keeps happening, it doesn't stop. You see, this one will happen infinitely. So this is a count, and the default value is 1, so it happens once and stops. Duration is again a second, time in seconds or milliseconds. So for both you can even put unit milliseconds or second. So that way basically tells how long this animation should happen. Yeah, how long the movie should play. Basically the frame should move. Alright. So delay is okay, you want to start off immediately or you want some delay. It's also possible to give negative value. Yeah. So basically it's kind of you are going to the movie, few minutes late. That kind of effect. So it shows it's kind of starts somewhere in between, thinking already it has started. Alright. So this is what is animation property. Yeah. Somewhat similar to transition, but it has got some advanced properties like you know the timing function. Plus I think we had a transition timing function also, if you remember. We had transition timing function, only thing was iteration count was not there, because that iteration count basically tells okay how long the iteration should happen. You see it is still happening. I come back, still the iteration is going. Now in the entire thing, the important thing that we can learn is the way we define this animation name. This is important. This is something interesting, huh? And there are a lot of things possible. Okay, so this is how we can give one simple value like okay, zero point 0.5 second linear, how it should happen. Let me go to this example. Okay, they have defined okay names. I think first let's understand the name and then we can define the animation name. Okay, we got examples. Yeah, yeah, we got examples. So we can define using keyframes. The way to define a name is using keyframes, and this is the name of the animation, which is to rotate. You see, we have a starting point. We also have an ending point. Now there are only two values here, 0 to 100. But okay, this is one keyframe. But here I can define so many states I want. So one is like from to. You can also give 0% to 100%. Now what I'm saying is you can define in between state also. Let's say you want what should be at 20%. You say you want what should be at 40%, 50%. So in between state, you can go on defining what you want. But this is how we define an animation name. So here we have a control of, okay, from here to here what should happen, that you can define here. From 20 to 40 what should happen, 40 to 100 what should happen, that you can define here. This is the property animation name. They've given very interesting examples. Huh? You see now? How did this animation begin? I think on hover they have defined animation. The trigger is on hover they have defined. They only given the two property names, name and the duration. They have not told how many. Okay, for 0.5 second, I think 0.75 second, there is a rotation which should happen. That's what they are doing. And you know that animation iteration count is 1. That's why it is happening only once. Let's say if this they want it to happen, you know, multiple times, so you will start seeing that it keeps rotating. Yeah, it keeps rotating. Let's say animation duration or animation iteration count. Okay, I would say 5 and do a mouse over. Did it take? I think it should have taken. Yeah, I think it's working. Yeah, it is working, right? So it did iterate for 5. Okay, so let me show you some more animations. What some good examples what they have given. Yeah, they've shown sunrise. Very good example. Like okay, how we can combine multiple things. So this is simple animation, sun rising. Okay, so animating. This is simple property. So what they're changing? Only changing the y value. So y value initially at 110, and from 110 it goes back to 0 value. That's all is a frame which is happening. And that is happening in a slow motion of linear, which is a timing function, and for a duration of 4 seconds. And you see there is an alternate. Yeah. So this alternate is basically a play state. Okay. This property called play state, which will basically tell should it, okay, it is starting from the, you know, start and going to the end position, end coming back to the start position. So the way it is playing, that is what is the play state. Okay, it has a different value. I mean, you can see each of these properties. But the point I wanted to show you is, okay, this is a simple animation where you are doing one simple property. It is also possible for multiple properties to be animated. How? Within the keyframes, you define what all you want to change. So now, more than just a translation, just a displacement, I would also want to change background color. I also want to filter, meaning basically reduce the brightness. Yeah, using a filter. See now, this brings an effect of, you know, sunrise and sunset purely using animation. Again, they're saying you can apply more than one animation. It's not that okay, you have to only apply one keyframe, you defined multiple properties. No, you can apply multiple animations also. For example, one is rise, one is set, or yeah, you see, side like they have defined one more animation. They have defined one animation called rise. So it is possible to even group them like okay, so rise, let it happen for 4 seconds linear and continuously. Alternate is just the play state. Now they have defined one more to the same property, 24-second linear, infinite, and another animation. Yeah, I think they have another example of cascading multiple animations. Okay, so which is like you got rise, you got bounce, two animations defined. Okay, so not exactly sure what is cascading. Yellow sunlight, sorry, yellow sun on a light background. Sun bounces between left and right. Yeah, in the viewport, even though rise animation is defined. Okay, So basically what they are saying is here there is an, you know, so same properties being magnified, I know, changed. Rise is doing translate, and yeah, here also bounce is also doing translate. Okay, so and there is a, if there is a collision, they are saying what is overriding what. So that's basically a cascading. So in simple, this is what is animation and what all is possible. So to start with, you don't have to learn all these things at one go. So if you can learn a simple animation like what we saw here, yeah, using these basic properties and defining these keyframes, and keyframes has, again, as I showed you, the different, you can divide that whole, you know, the start and end state with a lot of intermediate state, like as I showed you, 20%, 25%, 30%. You can go on defining frames, individual frames. If you don't define, then it will, yeah, by default it will take care of moving from here to here, just like transition. All right, so this is about